For 40 years, I ran on coffee. And at 57, I needed to break the hold it had on me. But could I really do it? Would it even be worth it? Well, I went all in to find out. And here's the wild part. What actually happened was nothing like I had expected. You know, when we're younger, we think we can get away with anything. I used to say, I'll deal with that when I'm older. Well, guess what? Older is here. Ladies, tell me if you feel this too. The stuff that we could pull off in our 20s and 30s, yeah, it doesn't work so much anymore, does it? The very thing I thought was helping me to keep going all these years was the very thing that was keeping me stuck. My coffee story actually started back in Army basic training when I was 18. That's when I got my first taste. After I got out, I worked as a secretary on a construction site. And my boss was one of those old timers. He smoked the filterless Camels, had that gravelly voice, and a coffee pot that was always brewing. I wasn't just making one pot in the morning. I was making multiple pots a day for the whole crew. And of course, I was drinking it too. Fast forward a few years, and now I'm a single mom, college at night, working construction by day. Coffee wasn't a habit anymore. It was now my survival fuel. But that was only the beginning. Then later came marriage and 3 more kids. With toddlers in my late 30s, coffee went from survival fuel to mandatory. In essence, it was my mother's little helper and my best friend. Like many of us, as I've aged, I've had to face the fact that my body has changed, and I've had to change with it. But some changes haven't done enough. Even after years of diligently eating only the carnivore diet, I still had weight that wouldn't come off. And I couldn't stay asleep for more than 5 or 6 hours a night. Sometimes even less. I know I'm not alone in this. I've talked to so many women struggling with the exact same thing, and maybe you do too. And that's when the real question hit me. Why was I doing everything right but still not getting the results? What really had me confused was hearing all the success stories. Thousands of people thriving on carnivore, dropping the weight, and sleeping soundly. But why not me? So I finally decided to get medical help. But here's the reality for women our age. You walk into a doctor's office, you're in your late 40s, your 50s, you're complaining about sleep, your weight, and your joints aching. And what's the first thing you hear? Yeah, menopause. But what if it wasn't menopause at all? I felt like there had to be more going on. And here's a bigger problem. Medicine treats our bodies in parts. We have specialists for every body system. But in reality, that's not how we function as humans. We operate as a whole. That's why I switched to a functional medicine doctor, because they look at the full picture. And when we tested, my suspicions were confirmed. Was it menopause doing this to me? No, it wasn't my sex hormones. What the test showed was a cortisol spike at 3 a.m. every single night. Years of early mornings, constant stress, and pushing through life had completely flipped my rhythm. My body thought it needed to be on high alert in the middle of the night. Imagine trying to sleep while your body thinks there's a fire alarm going off every night at 3 a.m. That was me. Cortisol's not the bad guy. It's supposed to wake you up in the morning. But instead of resting and repairing at night, which is what it's supposed to be doing, my system stayed stuck in fight or flight. When that happens, it makes our bodies feel unsafe. And when our bodies feel safe, it does what it's designed to do. It holds on to weight. So what does this have to do with the coffee? Here's where coffee kept me trapped. My mornings were flat, so I'd reach for a cup, okay, honestly more like a pot, to get going. That caffeine would carry me through the day, but it also drove my cortisol up at the wrong times and completely threw off my circadian rhythm. So I'd wake up at 3 a.m. wired, dragging through the morning, then reaching for more coffee. And that was the vicious cycle. Low mornings, more coffee, higher night cortisol, worse sleep, and round it went. So basically, I was pouring fuel on the fire with every single cup. And this is the big lesson I want women over 40 and 50 to hear. Carnivore was the foundation. It gave me the ability to reduce inflammation in my body and stabilize my hormones through menopause. Big wins. In reality, though, carnivore is only one piece of the puzzle. Deeper healing comes from 3 pillars working together: food, sleep, and movement. Ignore one and the others can't fully do their job. And that, my friend, is what I had done. I had my diet in line, now the sleep. And so for 2 months, I worked on a system of getting my sleep back in order and my wake-ups closer to when they were supposed to be. And I promise I will be doing a video on that soon. But I still couldn't make that breakthrough. I was still getting up at 3 a.m. and sleeping 5 or 6 hours a night. So I knew the one last piece was to let my dear, old, comforting friend, Mr. Coffee, go. Could I really do it though, after 40 years? So here's how I actually got off coffee. I was petrified to go cold turkey. What's crazy is when I quit cigarettes 30 years ago, another bad construction site habit that I had picked up, and when I jumped into carnivore, I actually did go cold turkey. But this was different. Day 1, I cut from a whole pot down to 1 cup. The next 2 days, I dropped to half a cup. Day 4 was a 1/4 cup. And by day 5, I stopped completely. I heard all the talk about withdrawals, so I braced myself for insanity. Headaches, jitters, agitation, I was ready. But the shocker was that none of it came. The only thing I really felt was exhaustion. By around 8 a.m. every morning, I was ready to crawl back into bed. That's because without that big caffeine jolt, my body's natural low cortisol curve was finally exposed. Coffee had been covering it up for years. And remember, I came from drinking a whole pot every morning. The fact that it wasn't worse, honestly, shocked me. It was not at all what I was expecting. What really surprised me is the hardest part wasn't even physical, it was mental. That warm cup of comfort that welcomed me into the day. Coffee wasn't just a drink, it was my friend. And I know I'm not the only one. Is this you too? Anyways, I also chose not to replace it with tea or decaf because I didn't want to swap one habit for another. I just wanted it broken. However, I did switch to drinking electrolytes first thing instead. By week 2, something wonderful happened. For the first time in years, I started sleeping 7 hours a night. Not every night, but multiple nights in a row. And then came other unexpected benefits. The constant buzzing in my body, gone. I hadn't even noticed it until it wasn't there anymore. Heart palpitations, gone. That tightly wound, on edge feeling I didn't even realize was coffee, also gone. Coffee had me on high alert all the time. Without it, I finally felt peace and calm that I didn't even realize I hadn't had. I didn't realize how bad it was until I detoxed from my caffeine addiction. Here I am, still working on my sleep, and it's still a little fragile. If I have an argument or there's an unexpected bill, it will sometimes wake my brain up at 3 a.m., but it's improving, slowly but surely. I have more nights where I sleep 7 and sometimes even 8 hours. I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. And here's the exciting part. If my body can change after 40 years of daily coffee, so can yours. Because your body isn't broken, it just needs the chance to heal. Remember, food, sleep, movement. And if you're ready to start your own healing journey, I've got a free 7-day carnivore starter kit you can grab in the link below, specially designed for women our age. It's the exact reset that helped me get started, and it can help you too. So will I go back to coffee? I'm not sure. I'll have to wait and see. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time.